Okay, we're going to try to get underway here. One of the things I found out in looking through these author bios is that reading them out loud is much different from reading poetry. Because you look at poetry, it's like reading music. There's a rhythm and it's sort of, it's kind of easy, but these things they're not like the narrative flow of prose. They don't make any kind of sense as writing. If you're reading them in a book silently, you just kind of go through and you get the information. You don't have to. But to say it out loud, it's like, well, I wish I'd decided I'd read poetry and let somebody else do this. But you're stuck with me, and I'm sorry. So we have 6 poets tonight reading. All of them have been published by 7 Points Press, or the one that has not been published by 7 Points Press is actually the editor-in-chief of 7 Points Press. So we decided we would let her read this time. She was stuck with this job last time. She did a wonderful job. Maybe you go back and do it next year. Okay. And first, I just need to tell you what 7 Points Press is. It's a little different from most presses. Most presses, you send in your manuscript, they like it or don't. And if they like it and want to publish it, usually the next thing you hear from them is proofs. They want you to read the proofs and send it back to them. And that's about as much interchange as you get with them. With 7 Points, what we want to do is be facilitators. So the artists send us their work, we read it, decide on how we want to publish it, and after that, it's back and forth. If they want to do the typesetting, we'll let them typeset it in where they want to. We'll do the typesetting. If that's what they need us to do, we can do everything that needs to be done to bring it up to the point of taking it to the printer. After that, our printer, right now the printer we're using is Amazon.com, because you can use their Kindle Direct Publishing and have as few as one or as many as 999 copies printed. So that gives us a lot of option, and it's not too expensive. So also what happens is when the author uploads their book, their finished book, to Amazon, they upload it in their account. That way the money comes directly to them. It doesn't go to the press and we take a cut and they get something. I've signed papers, long contracts that said I was going to get 50% of every book sold. I know books sold because I signed copies that sold. Never saw a penny. One guy said, I can send you enough money to buy some beer, or I can send you some copies of your book. What do you want to send? Send the book. So that's usually the way it goes. This press is different. If your book makes money, or anytime you sell a copy, the money goes to you. That's what we're trying to do that's different. So far, it's worked out pretty well. It worked out pretty well for me because I actually made money on the book we published. So the first person we're going to get to read tonight is Nancy Owen Nelson, who is the editor-in-chief of 7 Points Press. She moved down here a couple of years ago, and she was asking me what she could do here, and I said, how about you run this thing? And she said, really? Yeah. And she's done a great job. But as you'll hear, she's also an excellent poet. She earned her BA in English and French at Birmingham Southern, and her master's and PhD degrees in English at Auburn. She now serves as editor-in-chief of 7 Points Press. Her books include her memoirs, Searching for Nanny B, and Divine Aphasia, A Woman's Search for Her Father. Her poetry chapbook, My Heart Wears No Colors, appeared in 2018, and Portals, A Memoir in Verse, in 2019. A poetry chapbook, 5 Points South, Poems from an American Pilgrimage was published in December 2022 by Kelsey Books. And that book was awarded the 2022 Book of the Year Award by the Alabama State Poetry Society. So please welcome Nancy Owen Nelson.
This is when my good friend here said, your editor-in-chief, I don't think I said, huh? And I will tell you that it has been, it is a wonderful journey because, is that better? Because of the people involved in the board, and many of them, I just dropped that, that's okay. Many of them are here tonight. Well, of course, Jake and Hank and Wayne. And anybody else I'm missing? Okay. Excuse me. And I will say, I've had slightly better luck with publishers because I did get a few honorary royalties the first year of each of the books, but then after that it kind of goes. So you sell it yourself. All right, I'm going to begin with some current work that is not published from what I guess is a chapbook of letters to Jimbo is the title. And I'm picking out two of them because they give you a little bit of background on this person. They are love letters, yeah, maybe I already said that. And they also show the dark side and the or lighter side, I guess. So the first one is called The Table. On a hotter than hell August afternoon in North Florence, you sit at your table strewn with paper, pen, staplers, folders, a plant given by a friend for your new tiny house, built from nothing, up from the gently rolling hills of North Alabama, an edge of Appalachian beauty. You dreamed it. You built it. With hands roughened by a life of labor, with a body still strong, but hearing the call of rest, reflection. And now you sit in cool air, blessedly out of the oven, pressing against windows. On the table sits a family photo, 2 parents, 9 children, you the toddler in your father's arms, your blonde white curls slightly blow in whatever breeze there was that day. Today you will hold a frame, you will build a frame for yet another family picture, this time not one about love and hope, but about barbed wire and hopelessness. Circa 1939, Germany invades Poland, an ant caught in a net of Nazi terror. Is it a concentration camp or a holding camp? You do not know for sure, but Aunt Josephina, her face defiant and proud, determined, I am a woman, she says to you. Is it sweat or is it tears that run down your face? You are not sure. You are certain of only one thing. She will not submit, not now or ever. The second one is a little lighter and happy, and actually it's been published in an online journal for Moments of Joy. The afternoon, and by the way, notice that I'm mentioning the heat here because I am new back to Alabama. It's been 42 years since I lived here, and though Michigan gets hot, it ain't gotten hot like this, and so it sets in, as you know. The afternoon you danced in my sunroom. It was midsummer, my first back south, and I wondered what the hell I was thinking. 90 degrees, plus humidity outside, but you in your work clothes and socks, your forever knee pads, sunglasses looped over your t-shirt, you were having fun. Neil Diamond's Thank the Lord for the Nighttime on my Alexa. You sang as you gyrated, twirled across the open room, an afternoon of freedom from an old life, You spun, turned toward me, and sang along with Neil. You danced away, then back, beckoned me to join. As you sang, I thank the Lord for the late night time, to forget the day. Yours drenched with sweat and toil, duty. Those few times we danced, when you pulled me to you and away from my politics as I tried to speak to a senator, or when you grabbed me at a Friday night jam session of male musician friends. On an evening, you let me lead the box step in the very sunroom where you had your Arthur Murray debut. It was late winter, this time more focused as if we might find a spot across the river in Muscle Shoals, a club where we could pretend no one knew us, where we could forget the day of time, baby, chase it away. Jimbo, do you remember my laughter, my words on this video? Go, Jimbo. This will make me happy when I didn't finish. I think I meant when I looked at this film later, and here and now tonight, it does make me happy, but I also wait for the next dance. That's Jimbo. I read publicly from this, so thank you for your applause. Excuse me. Okay, I'm going to try, and you tell me on time, okay? I'm going to try to give you a sampling of the 3 books that he mentioned, and I will start with one from Portals, right here, and it is about Halloween. I thought that might be a nice thing, because it's coming, right? It's called Fertility. And by the way, my son, who is 44 a couple weeks ago, was born in Michigan. Burr Oak Street in rural Michigan glows with brown, gold, yellow, orange leaves. October 9th. Pains begin at 12:05 a.m., a cool night bracing itself for colder nights to come. I know the signs. Count the seconds between each throb electric belly curves. I climb stairs to the first floor slowly, one at a time, brace myself, grip iron railings. For each wave is like a heartbeat, like a tribal drum, like an urgent call. Outside, wet wind blows leaves against the house. It's almost Halloween. There's a break here. At 3 years old, I'm a ghost in a white sheet, eyes peering through the ragged slits. I moan, and my little girl voice rises through the Indiana fall night, joins wet winds, bearing down on leaves, mostly yellow, some orange, a damp carpet on lawns and sidewalks. This will be a long night of monitors, ice chips, moans, counted breaths, dampened forehead patted dry. At 11 a.m. he will emerge, his cries like a chicken clucking. I will take him home. By then, trees will stand barren of leaves. Okay. I'd like to read this. My Heart Wears No Colors was my attempt to explore and expiate or process the fact that I had Confederate ancestry. I didn't know I was getting down here, but I wasn't here yet, and I was processing. So what I did, with the help of a wonderful mentor in Michigan, was to write out of the voices of my ancestors, and I did research, a great deal of it, and this one is Vigil Strange after Walt Whitman. It is in the voice of my great-grandfather, John R. Russell, whose brother died in one of the battles that they ran with the Tennessee Cavalry. March 27th, 1863. My little brother, I stood over you ill on a pallet, rebel uniform torn, smudged with blood, shit, mud. In the morning, you couldn't even drink the coffee we boiled in camp. After we brushed off the maggots from top of the beans, you couldn't eat the sloosh we fixed. Cornmeal and bacon grease. Nothing like the cornbread and greens Mama fixed for us. We had to do with what we had. When I heard that rebel yell in Brentwood that morning after you died, I didn't want to fight, didn't want to go against Colonel Bloodgood. I didn't care whether we called a truce or whether he surrendered. My baby brother was gone. All I could do was stand with my musket, wait for the cannonballs to blast, splitting my eardrums while horses bellowed. I could only walk forward toward the line of Billy Yanks like the dead man I already was. Afterward, after we won that battle, I stepped over the piles of bodies, Yankees mostly, and trudged back to camp to find you, shrouded and lying on the ground. I buried you in a shallow grave, one of my fellows playing Dixie on his harmonica. Only if you'd stood by. I read from the Bible, Ecclesiastes, time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant, but mumbled the rest about killing under my breath and believing it was not yet a time to heal. I remember those verses from Bethel Church where we'd sung our hymns without instruments, where our elders or deacons would read from the text, sometimes those same words I read over your young body. Those words didn't make sense to me when I heard them before. When I read them over you, I didn't want to believe it was the time to die. I still don't, at least not the time to die for you now. Speaking of believing, I think about all that singing, about all those words about peace and love we heard at church. I think about how and why we're fighting this war. Why, when my family doesn't even own slaves, never have, never will, is my pledge. I'll take you home, young Calvin. Take you home, slung over my horse, the one I brought from the farm when we left to follow Holman. Before we had to join General Wheeler because we couldn't be partisan rangers anymore on our own. Maybe if we'd stayed independent, maybe, just maybe, you wouldn't be dead. When I take you home, Calvin, walking my horse over mountains and down into the green valleys, I will pass by the rail line from Nashville to Decatur. If there's a train coming through, I'll stop and wait, raise my hat in the air, listen to the long sound of the whistle bringing you back to Mama.
Good.
Is everybody okay out there? I'm ending on a light note. This book, if I have time, this was a road trip. We began, my husband who died 3 years ago, we began a trip at Africa Town after reading Barracoon, and I was so curious just about the energy. There was no memorial there yet, but I wanted to go, so we went and we came up through Fairhope, Montgomery to the museums, Auburn, War Eagle, Auburn, and then to Birmingham, and then to North Alabama through Saucon. So this is a road trip. And this one is set in Hartselle, Alabama, where my parents grew up. My dad was born, and they were for so many years dry, and then wet, and then dry, and finally they're, for me, happily wet. But we're coming back, we're just close to coming back up to Michigan, and this is on the second to last day of the trip. A wet county in Cahoots, which was the name of the place, a cafe antique store shop on Main Street. What stays with me as we drive toward Nashville on 65 is the Honky Tonk Bar Association, a circular bar in a shop in Hartselle where decades of my kin are buried. We pass through green fields that suggest the Appalachian Plateau just east, hills where Bible Belt talk of sins of the drink helped fill bootleggers' pockets. How many a man of God stowed whiskey bottles in closets for ailments, or drove down the road only a few miles for booze, went to church on Sunday, denounced sins of the flesh. Around the honky-tonk circular bar, old-fashioned stools sit like the ones which held innocent behinds in vintage ice cream shops across America. Along with the rest of their anatomies, those behinds must be cast into a damned afterlife of burning for the drink. A cafe table made from a roulette wheel, set amidst antique dolls, pictures of Elvis, Roy Rogers, toys from the 50s, dainty teacups, hand-knit shawls, signs pointing to man cave and powder room restrooms. So many antiques, so much history, so many sins of the flesh, so many lost souls. and all, of course, before 3 p.m. closing time, except Sundays, of course. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you, Nancy, that was excellent. I do want to thank Brian Murphy and Kennedy Douglas for setting this up. We didn't know what we were doing. We just said, can we do this? And he said, yes. We said, can we have a PA system? He said, yes. He said, can we have a projector? Yes. And then when we got here today, it was all set up and ready to go. So it's making it easy for us, and really appreciate it. Our next poet is Dorlea Rikard. Dorlea is an excellent poet, and she just took a little encouragement. She kept sending me poetry, and I kept saying, you need to do a book, you need to do a book. And I can't do that. Well, she could, and she did. It's right over there. Please buy one. Anyway, Dorlea taught for many years. She taught for 30 years, teaching English mostly at Bradshaw, then at Florence High School, and then UNA. It says here she's always written poetry, but never published until Pushed Through That Door by Jake Berry.
You're good at that.
I didn't mean to push. She acknowledges Emily Dickinson, Mary Oliver, and Wendell Berry as her favorite poets. And like them, she takes her inspiration from the natural world and from the small moments that make up a life. Voices from the Backyard and Beyond is her first published collection. She's working on her second one, and we need to encourage her to publish it. Please welcome Dorlea Rikard.
Thank you, Jake. And he did push, but it was a gentle push. So, I am going to read several poems tonight that hopefully will be in my next collection. And I think I'm going to call it Contrast, but I'm not sure about that yet. So, my first poem is titled Haircut. She snips with abandon, not feeling the panic I feel, as mounds of red hair form on the floor. You will love this, she says. The curls will frame your face, not pull it down and overpower it. She's right, of course. Old hippies and holiness women come to mind, out of date and out of style. But still, with every snip I wince. As the red mound grows, I can think only of Samson. The next one is titled A Poem. Sometimes she sings, sometimes she mourns, sometimes she dances, sometimes she stumbles, sometimes she exalts, sometimes she debases, sometimes she clarifies, sometimes she confuses, sometimes she tells the truth but tells it slant, and sometimes she breaks your heart. The next poem is one that I wrote for a former student of mine who was the child of an immigrant who went on to do some really wonderful and important work in her life. And I wrote this when there was more than usual static on the airwaves about the evils of immigrants. And I wanted her to know that not all of us felt that way. The name of it is Fernecca. You are America, my dear. Your beautiful black face reflects the very best of her. The opportunity, the diligence, the courage, the expansiveness, your confidence, your expertise, your passion, your beauty may save us yet. And the next one. The next one is titled An Eye for an Eye. An eye is an eye. A tooth is a tooth. We need them both. For we are not the sun. We are the moon. And children cannot grow in a dark earth. Now the next one, I'll have to tell you that I went to a church school and I am eat up with Bible references. So you'll just have to bear with me here. Let me see. This one is called Jephthah's Daughter, and I'm going to give you just a little background. Jephthah, if you don't know, was a judge of the Israelis before the Hebrew people, I should say, before they had a king. And I think the story of Jephthah is told as a cautionary tale about making rash promises. He actually promised God, made a vow to God, that if God would help him defeat the Ammonites who was fighting, that he would sacrifice the first thing that met him on the way home. He would sacrifice this, whatever it was, as a burnt offering. The name of the poem is Jephthah's Daughter. Long she had waited for his return. She swept the house and made the bread and prayed. She prayed for his safety, protection from the arrows that surely flew, protection from beasts that might harm him, protection from the temptation to wander. She longed for his return, for his solid presence in the house, for his wisdom and strength, for relief from all the responsibility. She heard him coming and ran to meet him, not knowing that she, like Psyche, was the price of his devotion. The next one is titled The Visitor. I have heard that pain is God's megaphone to rouse a sleeping world. But I think pain is a whisper. It is a song that cannot be forgotten, a promise that is never broken, a subtle, serious visitor that demands to be fed, and with quiet, sinister words makes himself at home. And the next one is titled, The Monsters Come at Night. The monsters come at night, and I must dance with them. Dance with doubt, dance with disappointment, dance with dignity. Ah, dignity, and yes, he is a monster. The dance is exhausting. The steps are intricate, the pace never slows, and the music crescendos unbearably. Doubt is a better partner, although he will not take the lead. The dance is full of stops and starts. Sometimes it stops altogether for awkward pauses. Disappointment is the best partner, a solid presence, happy to lead. The music has a strong, steady beat. As we plod through the steps, his hand on my back makes me tired. As the earth rolls onward today, the music stops, and I must stow my dancing shoes until that darkling time when the monsters return. So I have been very fortunate to travel to Scotland several times, and one of my favorite places in the world is the Orkney Islands, just at the north of Scotland. And so this poem is titled Orkney. The wind here makes everything dance. The grass parts into two lines, bows to its partner, and do-si-dos down the field. The flags on the ships snap to attention and commence a military march in formation across the bay. The oyster catchers catch a draft, float upwards into the blue, and descend in graceful pirouettes. The green here speaks of growth. The bare barley shoots up in sunny days, storing energy for the long nights to come. The flowers preen in window boxes, bowing to their lovely reflected images. The few trees are small and defiant, daring the wind to deny them their place. The sea here is full of life. Soft-eyed seals wink at walkers on the road. Otters and whales patrol the sea lanes. Puffins hide on cliffs, rewarding the brave who lean over to see. This land is full of stories, of selkies and mer people, of fairies and trolls, of sailors and ships and whales. It is a strange land, full of standing stones and mounded houses and ancient civilizations. It feels like home. And my last one, visiting my grandparents' graves. There it is, he said, pointing to the carved stone. I remember the day we buried her in fast falling snow. It was a long grandmother life. About a half-mile away, again he points, this time to a grandfather unknown to us except in story. His time was not so long. What separated them those years ago? Drink, I know, and cruelty, and much of which we are unaware. He did come home to die, though he would have none of her. She never said a word against him. She never said a word of him to me. I've heard he was a good and steady man, rocking the children at night so she could sleep. But drink changed all of that. Instead of rocking the children, he was beating them and her. No one was sleeping now, not he, not she, not those children he rocked. So he left a good woman and a house full of children. My father must have remembered the love. He moved toward reconciliation, but it never came. Whatever demon possessed him never deserted the old man. So we buried him without her, children and a handful of cousins. The goodbye was lost somehow in the absence of hello. So they are buried a half-mile apart, each with their proud stones and their heartbreaking secrets. Although their dust will never mingle, I can't help but wonder if their spirits will make peace.
Thanks, Dorlea. And I think the answer to that question is yours. Our next poet is Jared McCoy, and he is going to be reading his poetry accompanied by photographs by Wayne Sides. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about both of them. Wayne sent me a bio that was abbreviated for him. It's still. So there's a lot to tell about Wayne, and I can tell you some later. I know things about Wayne that even he doesn't know. We've been around together a little bit. Yeah, there he is. See, now I can't talk bad about him anymore because he's anyway. Wayne is from Calhoun County. Grew up in Anniston, but he graduated from University of Alabama, New College, and then went on to get his master's degree in photo image making from Pratt Institute in Brooklyn. His work has been displayed internationally, including the OK Harris Gallery in Soho, Palazzo Panici Museum in Pietrelcina. Is that the way you say it? Pietrelcina?
That's close enough.
Okay. Close enough for an Alabama mouth. That's the best we can do. And also, he has an extensive series of photographs in the Civil Rights Museum in Birmingham. You see those. His photographs been published in several books, Sideshow, Living for Vanishing Landscape, and so on and so forth. and he is now the professor emeritus at the University of North Alabama. Jared is a writer, musician, artist, and tarot practitioner based here in Florence. They earned a BA in English from the University of North Alabama. They are the author of 2 books of poetry, Letters to Strangers, Volumes 1 and 2, published under the pseudonym Wick. Since 2021, Jared has been a regular attendee of artist markets across the southeastern United States, performing tarot readings and fortune telling. So please welcome Jared McCoy.
Just a moment while the projector warms up. There we go. So earlier this year, Wayne contacted me for a game of creative ping pong, essentially, where he had this idea of, well, you have this talent for interpreting things on the fly as a tarot reader and as an impromptu poet, which is a mode of expression that I had been practicing for a while, where I would set up at markets with my typewriter and just make the poem right then and there. So I would say 80% of my poetry is not collected in a book, it's collected in somebody's hands, right? Published right then and there. So we started this series of emails back and forth where he would send me a picture and go, interpret this. And the book Interpreter is what came out of this. I love this cover for it because I keep changing what it looks like. Is it a crystal ball? Is it lungs? Wayne's got a good eye. So I wanted to, putting together this presentation was a difficult matter because I wanted to get a good cross section of the writing that I thought really stood out and the pictures that I thought really stood out. So here is what I came up with. Outgrown. Once upon a time, there was a happy little girl who had almost everything she could ever want, all contained within one little house. Not content with almost, the little girl searched for the rest elsewhere. Upon returning home, she found she could barely get her foot in the door. That's okay, she thought. I never really fit in there anyway. Thank you. Okay, there's only, okay. This one's called What Else? I can feel the kudzu grabbing my ankles and hear it scold me like a disobedient dog. Stay. I know where the property line is, but can't see through the years of growth and negligence to find out which grass is greener. I'm gonna make me a big sharp axe, shining steel, and I'm gonna know for myself. I'll cut you down like an old dead tree before you hang me with my leash. Next one. Right. The right button.
I can't see it.
The
Come over.
right arrow.
Oh, okay. It's a different kind of computer. Come over, show me, I'm sorry. Okay, got it.
Isn't that fun? Smile for the camera. Legends say the spirits can't tell the difference between a face and a mask, and are ready to believe you are who you say you are. I am a cosmic revolutionary, and my mission is divine. I thank the spirits for their courtesy. Mortals will hear my name and see my works, and still demand to see some ID before deciding I am who they say I am. hit that again. Darn. That's, the other part of it is that, I don't want to give away what all is in this because there's some good juicy ones. So I'll give you a couple more that are just the words and let you imagine what could have inspired them. Do you see what I hear? Fortunately or not, treating a broken heart and wounded pride is an outpatient procedure with no anesthetic or estimated recovery time. No, I can't show you where it hurts, and I'm exhausted from making the case that it does. I can almost see my words fall out of experts' ears and get stuck on their shoes as they walk away, shrugging. And then I'll close it with this one, called absence. Absence can be seen and felt in a broken routine or the awareness of yourself as the only living thing in a room. Absence may be divorced from presence, but it was an amicable break with joint custody of me and you and everybody we know, wherever they are. Absence can be created by presence in the right spot, as my body blocks the sun's light and the trail disappears into the woods. Thank you.
Thank you, Jared. Jared was actually the first person I contacted when we started this press, because I met him and we talked about tarot cards and spiritual things, and I'd seen a little bit of his poetry online. Perfect guy for this. And he said, I'm really not interested in doing poetry right now. Okay. And the next thing I know, he and Wayne, about a year later, they're working together. I thought you were interested in poetry. Well, Wayne can get you to do things this week. And he's got me to do some things, well, never mind. Do what? Afterward, yeah. In private, when Wayne's not here, because he just messed it up. I'm just pulling his leg. He's my brother. Our next poet is Shannon Milliman. Shannon loves theatrical, creative expression. She wrote, performed, and toured an original one-woman show, Not So Supernova. Her work delves into themes of resilience, transformation, and the beauty found in everyday moments. She and her family of 7 moved here with the remote shows program. When not writing, she enjoys dancing passionately, hiking, wild mushroom foraging, swimming in natural waters, and has a business, Remembera, that helps others video, write, or perform their own stories. She's here to read from her 7 Points Press collection, What If God Is, What If I Am? Please welcome Shannon Milliman.
I got fans already. This is a safe place, isn't it? Before I came, I was like, what am I gonna wear? A little flash of bright red boots, definitely. And I put this necklace on, which is just a cheap necklace, like plastic, but my aunt sent it to me because she went through my grandma's things after she died, and she distributed it to all the granddaughters. And so it's my grandma's. I am sure she never wore it because I don't think she'd be caught dead wearing plastic jewelry, but I felt it apropos to wear tonight. She maybe is with me. So before I share a few poems, I just want to share the beautiful cover of my book, What If God Is, What If I Am? And the creator, my wonderful, beautiful daughter, Sunny, created this art. So it feels especially special. It's just perfect for my words, and it just feels right. I'll start with love is another word for torture. Love is another word for torture. It screams, it births, it bleeds, it tears, it yearns, strives, lives, redeems. It is lonely, so lonely. Liminal, floating exchange rates. When 23 years have sown wind, stitched snow, sutured sleet, sealed sun, scars remain. Our children and childhoods, religion gone, faith unreal, melancholy wins, but you and me, fried pepper steak at the wooden family table, love on a train, more tips than me, passion in the church. Baby buried where we were raised, whispered lessons noticed in the celestial room, wedding photos to burn, car seat lullabies with daddy's band, finger pacifiers, calm, troubled bathtubs, bronchiolitis worries, and box of rain to heal. Moldy apartments and blessings on the PB&J, seedling hands, velvet Mary Janes on the church steps, holding sunbeam-sized hands, walking to Mount Tabor. Digging, drunk on dirt, dandelion salads, a funeral for a bird who lived a good life. Despair at Henry and Hemslow's life ending. In a closet, pulsing, raging. Cookies under the bed, off the trails, free and spirited, zippity-yay, muddy boots, no umbrellas, lunch at preschool, I'm in. Tomatoes ripe off the vine, shaved heads, tattoos, lost on windy Nikiski Beach. Swaddled babies, hiking backpacks, thumb-sucking angel, our very own gargoyle bites, and we keep him. Band concert in a tuxedo, a right nice trumpet with a silver mouthpiece. The best witch cackle on the stage. Lewis River, Starry Night, and philosophical thought. Can I go to my friend's house for dinner, for lunch, for second breakfast? Daddy's diaries, mommy's diaries. Bad grades, good grades, sneaked out, locked doors, open windows, learning of love. Are you rich? Rich in love. Floating the cypress, belly down. Missing Moses, who's growing up. Learning to do, breathe, survive, someday thrive. Sunny, gone in the Halloween dusk, like when she rode her bike. When she's ready, she's ready. Anna runs lean, serene, with grace and a nose ring. Rainbow glimmers on stage, and she forgot to brush her teeth. Phineas, no longer scared of the scary parts, made a basket team, handsome like dad. They're growing, becoming, almost gone. Eli, has it been enough? Will they make it alone? Will they come home? Will they remember the phone? Will they know how to hold on? Can they sing a song? Can they leap and scream? Will they create? Will they rule? Will they worship? Will they wander? Will they know that they are God? I remember when Anne Lamont said something about her baby son, Sam. The image burns in my mind the way silver and bitter acid burned in the photography bath. Junior year with Andy, who's now dead, who then was high on weed. Anne said of her son's hand, I couldn't find the exact quote, hands like stars. It hit me, like Hosanna hit the Mormons, like Hallelujah the Baptists, like wine hit the Episcopalians. My little baby, smelling of cupcakes and rainbows. She cried, almost dying, over and over, unsatiated. But I didn't care. I understood she had to. It was the way she learned who she was. And her jaw unhinged like a whale, filtering baleen. How did the others think this little lady's toothy teeth were sharks? Bite, blood, rock her, hold her outwards. It's okay, sweetie. You are okay, sweetie. It takes time to learn. Auntie Di said mid-20s, a switch happens. in the mental clock of insanity. Bite marks like stitches, proof that you exist. No requirements of good, bad, glory. Asking if she can come home. Of course. Oh, please, little girl. Your hands, my stars, shards bright, refined and resonant. The election. Democracy, tell me what it means to you. R-E-S-P-E-C-T, sock it to me. The red socks, the blue socks, let's change the socks. Putrid laundry sitting for 4 years, thrown at the wall. Not presidential. Let's try a career politician. The promise of anti-politician didn't pan out so well. Next ice cream flavor, Neapolitan American, where Mexican kids buy overpriced ice cream from the minivan blasting Christmas tunes. Their parents work 3 jobs so they can have ice cream. I tell my kids they can't have any rip-off ice cream. We will get a half gallon at the store and have ice cream cones. Cool, Mom. Because that's simply not the same as peeling the waxy white paper and catching the peanuts that dribble off, or popping the Flintstones. Hawaiian punch flavored push pop. Democracy is pretending everything is fair and equal, and everyone saves money for Winco ice cream. Mile 2 of 26.2. I am melting butter tiger. The blister on the ball of my foot is healed. The pre-diabetes is gone. My calves are strong. My heart beats right. Side stitch? No more. I rose with morning, evenings, reaching for the orange and red streamers in the morning sky, from wheat germ, protein powder, and water. Fear of not knowing if shin splints were mine, if knee tweaks are normal, heel impaction, ice chips, and bone fragments, audio distractions, Oprah Super Soul conversation, angle of repose, this American life, a deer that did not run when I ran by, our eyes connected. We are human, we are animal, we are primal, blood, meat, bone, and breath. Tomato. Tomatoes would not grow where I was raised, land of the midnight sun, Alaska sun, and freezing temperatures every night. The splendor sprouts my first heirloom tomato in Portland. In our first little house where the backyard had blackberry roots and my husband was a workhorse and saved my pregnant back with chivalry and kindness and uprooted all roots. A fleshy red fruit tastes like a womb possibility. Salty, sweet parch and dribbled sun. Our little baby girl ate them one by one. I remember when milestones were uninterrupted. I look back at her youth with a blur on roller skates. I bruised my tailbone, not able to balance and glide the way my ancestors' mothers did. I bit the dust. The volcanic dust whispers its wisdom from centuries before. Back then, were the problems the same? It doesn't feel that way. I learned about butterfly kisses in a book. I blink my eyelids on a little cheek. It tickles, but everything does. I look at what it has meant to mother over the years. I don't plant tomatoes anymore. Too tired, too many pests, too little time, too much humidity. To be pigeoned as a certain kind of mother, the kind who gave up, doesn't suit me. I am a mother that painfully grew her own roots. They, like invasive brambles, show themselves in my kids. The debater is debating just like me, navigating those snarly thorns of wonder and picking a neighbor's cherry tomato. And one last one, the river. The river meanders. It rolls off my tongue like a curled birthday ribbon. I wear my polka dot black and red party shirt. Celebration of life, escapement. Spawning red salmon dotting the sterling silver, salt and pepper. Back then everything seemed like the calm in the crook of the creek. Back then I didn't know that Joseph Smith had hid marriages from Emma. I knew that at 6 p.m. we went fishing, and we listened to Fats Domino croon on a worn-out cassette tape. Patriarchy was not a nuanced word. It was warmth and security and stewardship. It was Dad teaching me how to fish and to eat what you caught because life is sacred. Is Emma's life sacred? Did Emma have more to write beyond scribe? Qualified to conjure unicorn queens. In 10th grade geology class, taught about striation from glaciers and drew the wandering creek on the overhead projector with an expo marker. The river meanders, rolling through daughterhood, motherhood, muscle tracks wonder, will I ever be my own?
Thank you, Shannon, that was excellent. You know, for some reason, people think that poetry is boring. It's hard. We don't want to do that. I think you're seeing tonight that none of that is true. Poetry is fun. It's engaging. It's stimulating. There's really nothing quite like it. And in terms of holy books, look at your Bible. Most of it is poetry. Speaking of great poetry, over there hiding behind the wall, Tyler Young. The first time I saw Tyler was right here, I think probably in this room. On the piano, playing guitar, singing, and I think Abby was singing in the background with you. Heard him perform several times since then. Always excellent, always something different, always a poet. But there's much more to him than that because I've seen things that he's built. He can build a house from scratch and it will stand up as opposed to what I would come up with. Anyway, he attended Auburn University. Did anybody attend? Oh, yeah, Wayne went out of them. Okay, so War Eagle, Roll Tide, whatever. This year, I don't know about either one of them. He studied architecture and design there. He ended up for several years in New Orleans before returning to the shows. He works as a designer, carpenter, and musician, and a poet. Through all of it, deep concern for the quality and open form is obvious. He plays guitar and accordion for his own compositions and recordings of music for other artists. Most recently, he worked with Jimmy Whiz at Fame Studios, which I think was the result of putting on a roof with Jim, and in the middle of the day, Jim decided he wanted to make a record, so they just booked the time. Jim does this kind of thing. His first book of poetry is Sweet Debris, which he's going to read from tonight. Please welcome Tyler Young.
Hello. Thanks for hanging out tonight. Let's see. I'm gonna sing a song that is meant to be sung by multiple voices, but you only have me tonight, so God bless you. But I'll back up a little bit. This is called Work Song. I am the roof, provider of shelter, You know I let you sleep through the thunder storm. I am the seamstress, oh, I push the needle, that keeps the seams from being torn. And I am a carpenter, oh, not a savior, oh. I only mount the hinges on the doors, and I am the laundress, oh. I pour the chemicals, that wipe clean the slate of your drawers. I am a plumber, oh. I give you hot water, oh. And I take your shit so you can have more. I am your mother, oh. But you don't remember, oh. This womb from whence you were born. We are the miners, oh. We use the violence, oh, to draw forth the elements from the earth. This is customer service, oh. May I redirect you, oh, to the human voice you oh so long for. I work in a factory, oh. It's the height of drudgery, oh. You know I do the same thing over and over. We are the workers, oh. The flesh manufactured, oh. You know we pay the price for these comforts. Sorry if you've heard this one before, but I'll do it again. It's called Storage. I keep wondering what my grandparents would do if they were living now, in this generation. I remember how loudly their television played, blasting through the failed hearing, and how my grandmother was so ill-prepared for the constantly blaring 24-hour news coverage of her idle-houred later years as the world reeled with the reckoning of its own image. Nerve centers breaking stories, high res, live, on the scene every moment with its crisis, as if she needed reminding. As her body slumped toward failure, she sat in her chair with only a TV for company, with endless access to ceaseless updates, the attic overflowing with clippings, filing cabinets so full they cannot be closed. This accumulation, like a burden, we constantly bemoan while devoting ourselves to its protection. At one point in my childhood, we had a storage building that was broken into. It was packed so densely that the thieves took nothing. They saw past a wall of teetering cardboard, trash bags, and God knows, to the valuable overweight electronics of the early 90s, and they just walked away. It was simply too much to unpack. And I remember as a child being enlisted to help move these contents from place to place, and how my sisters and I began secretly disposing of things to lighten our mother's load, objects never remembered once thrown away. My partner Abby's not here tonight, and I never read love poems, so I guess I'll do this one for her. It's not about her, sorry. It says, hushed parley. Shall we meet on the old battlegrounds, bordering on fellatio from below and friendship from above, a blood stream cutting the landscape, where we walk out, sloughing armor, unmuffling our necks, exhausted by argument, to hold the hushed parley, the silent terms of surrender. You took reason and logic in one of the early skirmishes. I would like those back. And you damned the aorta with mounds of colorful apathy in such a way that time is the only method of removal, and there isn't anything anyone can do about it. But how did we expect a war to end? In a rose garden over tea, perhaps? As you calmly explain, you can pick the shade, but the color is red. Let's see, this is dedicated to our little puppy, Chloe. We got asked to leave an establishment in town one day, and she was one of the most civilized patrons there. So, service animals. We are all service animals, accompanying one another into some strange arena where everything is social and nothing is forgotten by these amateur accountants who are accepting applications to join the endless queue of contestants, enthusiastically forfeiting previous declarations of what can no longer be stated in terms adequately explicit, such that it can be codified, what it is to be human, thus named and classified. Let's see. Money makes money. I am resisted, and so I must reach. I seem desperate, and so I am refused. I am a lone figure, and so I am not approached. I am poor, and so I am not hired for well-paying work, requiring a suit and sedan. You say it is self-fulfilling, and in a way it is. Criminal to be without property or pay somebody rent. So take me to the technician who calibrates the scales. Take me to the mortgage lender for the House of Justices. The population remains the same. Addition, the womb-wet shrieking announcement of our increase by one, immediately prodded, tested, baptized in artificial light, and taken into the custody of life. It is probably best we can't tell a baby, this is likely the most tenderness you will ever receive, and it will slowly become less acceptable for you to appear weak and heed this time when people are like servants, worshiping your tiny feet. And subtraction, how the gushing spring can lull to a trickle and turn to dripping saline, and one from whose presence we once drank can suddenly become a thing, a vessel, inanimate, fit only for the systems of memory. The last breath and open casket, the skin you wore on display, sucking all the air from my lungs, heaving into motion the involuntary organs of grieving. That was over 10 years ago, and I still have entire imagined conversations with you, things forever untold. Thus, the population remains the same. How are we doing on time? time.
Well, good.
Okay, I'll do two more. Crawl space. It is cordoned off for a reason, with a single access point reserved for the unfortunate repair people, the maintainers, forced through a hunched threshold to a forbidden zone of falling fiberglass and failing ductwork, of rodents and damp, dark, cramped belly crawling, cussing, caught in cables and wires and stonework, a service entry to the uninhabitable underside of comfort, a supporting role lifting us above the residue of a forgotten levitation. Crawl space was written after working in Wayne's house one day when some cable person came out and was like, yeah, you can cut that wire. But it was connected to some satellite that no one was aware of. Needless to say. This last one's called Heavens, and it's inspired by, we're kind of in a golden age of astronomical discovery, and it's reframing the way we understand a lot of things. So, heavens. And this tether is gravitation, and with it we are bound to a warm exterior with a molten core, suspended in emptiness, a near perfect vacuum where we are lowering ourselves to the freezing temperature of time, witnesses to a silent collision light years away, with subatomic oceans under our fingernails when magnified, examining this accident eternal, warming our bodies beside the inferno, tilting away from the fire. The leaves are turning and falling in momentary orbit. Another season is coming, and all of it is celestial, so unlikely, so damp and dirty and terrestrial. Take a breath of this false stillness. Never mind the rocketry. Climb these shedding trees in this forgotten land in the heavens. Take a moment to consider the angular momentum of a clusterfuck of flesh, 8 billion insects born into light. I just want to say thanks to the 7 Points Press. I wouldn't have gotten this collection together without their interest and encouragement. So, thanks.
Aren't you glad we push a little bit? 'Cause-
October 30th, open mic when you get a chance.
okay, there's October 30th is going to be an open mic
Yeah.
poetry event here. Is that right?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Okay.
And we're gonna have 2 published poets.
Uh-huh.
Nancy will be one of them, and Jason, what's his last name?
Oh, Jason. Yeah, sure.
Jason McCoy.
Yeah.
So he'll be. And then it's gonna be open mic.
Okay.
And then, if it's optional, but people are welcome to stay for discussion.
Yeah, good. Discussion's always good, as you really like to talk about. Our last poet, certainly not our least poet, is Hank Lazer. Hank is kind of like Wayne. He has a resume that goes on for days. He's published 35 books of poetry. His most recent is from 7 Points Press, right over here, As We Vanish from Public View. Also a new book, or fairly new, is Field Recordings of Mind in Mourning, which includes a 15 music poetry tracks with Holland Hobson on banjo. You can find that on YouTube. Later this year, forthcoming from Trax Press, Abundant Life, New and Selected Poems, and from Lavender Ink, a collection of essays from 2007 to 2024 called What Were You Thinking? Lazer retired from the University of Alabama in 2014, continues to teach a seminar there every fall, each fall, correct? Yes. And it's called Zen Buddhism and Radical Approaches to the Arts for the Blount Scholars Program and New College. And he performed here just 2 weeks ago at Abraham Rose Gallery with Holland Upson. You missed a good one, but you didn't miss everything because he's back. Welcome, Hank Lazer.
Thank you, Wayne. And Jake, same with Wayne. Wayne and Jake and I've gone back a lot of years. We performed years ago at the Kentucky Festival, which will also be happening this week in Tuscaloosa. So a lot of time performing together, a lot of friendship and poetry and music over many years. It's been a real joy to see 7 Points Press get going. Poets need one another, need encouragement from one another, need what we have tonight, which is an audience. If you want to do something really radical, you could buy a book. This is, it's a rare but permitted activity, and there are a lot of beautiful books available for you there. The model that 7 Points Press is pursuing is a radical and interesting one, and one that really benefits the artists, and it's nice to have the support of the board to make this model work. Thing that Jake didn't mention also, by going with Amazon, and I'm not a real, I don't care to help Jeff Bezos go into space or whatever he wants to do, but one of the things that Amazon is able to do is they publish our books everywhere throughout the world and at extremely reasonable prices because they have printing places throughout. So if you have friends elsewhere, you don't have to go through the ridiculous postage and declaration and all that sort of stuff. So it's an interesting model to consider. So the book that I'll be reading from, it's an odd book in many respects. So the first thing that's odd about it is the cover that has no words. And Jake and I were tinkering with the model of how we could make this book into a book and experimenting around. I really wanted a different version than this. And this one popped up. I thought, no, that's better than what we were trying to do. And it's a picture that my son took of me about 1.5 years ago in some misty fields in Iceland, the thermals coming up and obscuring the person crossing the bridge. And I wanted to start with this poem in part because of what Tyler was saying about our being, all being service animals. I think, and you'll hear in this poem, I've learned a lot from my dog Nate, and I really have become Nate some service human. So I'm looking for the vest, I need a vest that says service human, and I'll be able to go some of the places with him that I presently can't go. It also has the line in it, a couple of words that are key to this new big book of new and selected poems that will be coming out a little later in the year. A vine wraps its way up a tree trunk. To my dog Nate, as he is finishing a seizure, I repeat, I am with you. As overflow, he said and meant abundant life. The poems here are brief meditative spaces. At Abraham Rose, we did some meditative space in between poems. We also did some accompanied by banjos of different varieties. I think, at least for me, when a poem's written, that's just the beginning of its life. Your reading of it is another location of its life. The collaboration with musicians. Jake and Wayne, we were working with a book called Days, which was written in 1994. So that these things, they take on a different life. Read a few poems from this book. How to awaken if you already are. At night, quietly, deer came by to eat the fallen acorns, great protein for the coming cold. I am becoming an ancestor. I calculate erasure takes 2.5 generations. I sit with this. Another old one in our group asks the question, are you ready? Soon, every stretch of words radiates outward. So the poems are brief. They have very little, no titles. I think of them as my writing life has gone on for a long time. Although I didn't publish a first book of poetry really till I was 42. So I had a lot of writing has resulted since then. I think of these poems as kind of like in cooking a reduction sauce. This is, the excess is, most of the excess I hope is gone. The mentioning there of another old one in our group. So there are 2 Zen meditation groups that I'm a part of. One meets Sunday mornings and I lead one Thursday evenings. If you're interested in either, please talk to me. It's via Zoom, so we have people from all the way from Hawaii to Brooklyn and our friend Rich Curtis in southern Georgia, and all over here and there. Being time is a place for thinking. As sunlight arrives in 9 minutes delay, oh, sweet present moment, pasture happening of its own accord. A sound becomes a song, intuited rhythm of our being. Try this one. Vow. So vow is so. Vow so. Vow is so. Vow. So vow is so. Around and round, a ring of fog, loop the loop, circle of return. Cows graze open pasture and find food left in the catch pen. Low fog burns off, disappearing in bright morning light. I knew my grandfather old, I could not see him young. Comes a time when a doctor and a nurse administer the words. To whom am I now complete? I'll read you a few from toward the latter part of the book. The book has a surprise ending. I'll share some of that with you. Day begins in gray, cloudy sunrise, guaranteed as time always is to be full into the night. Quiet thinking slips into dream. And then again, someone young might think boredom, but there are always changing particulars in this body and its changing sensations. Each day, ceremony of awakening. We die into stone sometime. Sometime like this, ashes all fall down, or take them with us from the crematorium, save some and scatter some beneath the perfect tree. We die slowly by noted disappearance, unnoticed and living in another time, stone, lichen, tree, becoming more and more interesting, and oak, older than I am. Up the ladder to the home, not this house, but another, never more than this. First winter-like day, sunrise and steam rising from golden brown grass, dormant as in, who is yet to awaken? Articles vanish, invisible subatomic particles dance about, evading our crude detection. Up the ladder to a hidden house. Mine is an old mind that is not mine, part ancestral from other minds. Fun comes from glimpses of future time and dazzling enigma of the present moment. Exactly dark matter, event, becomes memory. Only the opening poem of the book and the closing poem. The opening poem is this. The famed director called it nature deficit disorder. There are millions unknowing night sky in the language of trees, underground and through the air. We walk between, distracted, defended against this miraculous happening. Time takes us down one at a time. Earth is the bardo, a paradise for getting soul inscribed for its return. Alive at that time, I hold the book, capacious brain raining down its chosen rhapsody. So the last poem of the book, we poets are very finicky about everything about our books. It's one of the great wonders about poetry is because it's worthless, it's so valuable. We exist within a wonderful boutique and gift economy. For many of us, the books we've given books to other poet friends and they've given us their books, and we sign and dedicate books to one another. And it's a beautiful economy that's evaded capitalism in ways that are really surprising and wonderful. If you think someone said this was my occupation, that is ridiculous. I couldn't have thought it. I think in 50 years of publishing, I might have been able, because I got a prize once, so I could make it through 2 mortgage payments. Wouldn't have a roof over my head, nothing. So, no, but there's a real blessing in it being outside of that economy of product and how many have you sold of this, that, and the other. And I think in general, it's a helpful way to think about poetry. Jake was really articulate in talking about that. Think of poetry that we listen to as an experience rather than something that you have to explain. And school and I have a PhD in English and taught English, all that. There are horrible things that have been done to the way that we approach poetry in particular. These things can be gotten to later, but let's begin with it the same way you might treat music or a painting. You're not going up to these things looking at paintings. Did you get it? It's just not the case. And so again, poetry, I was once teaching a 5th grade class, and I was really encouraging them to be extremely playful, not worry about meaning, theme, etc. And one of the students said, see me, poetry is like recess for language. Yeah, poetry is like recess for language. And it's harder as we get older, especially as we become young adults. The most conservative I've found with 18 to 22-year-olds I teach because they're afraid of embarrassing them, they're afraid of making asses of themselves, and I just reassure them that it won't matter later. It's just good. You'll have done it so many times that you'll become adept at it, and it's just you just sort of here it goes again, I'm becoming an idiot. So it's one of the few great pleasures of getting old. There are others that are not so pleasurable. Back to the book, because I'm not doing the weave. Back to the book. The concluding page of the book, in this finicky nature, is a slightly different font size than the rest of the book. And the last page came to me from another dimension outside of this life. From a different dimension in which I have other senses, I walk toward you through the mist. I do want to return. Thank you. And next time we got wine, we got wine, drinks, and oh yeah.
Yes, we have wine and water and bread. There may even be a priest in the room. No, please help yourself and do to check out the books and do buy them if you can, because I sold one the other day, $10. I bought a pack of gum on the way here. I have money left over. I may buy some flowers on the way home for my wife. See, it's a good thing. Thank you all for being here, and thank you, Brian and Kennedy Douglas, for making this happen again. Very kind of you. Thank you.